And for the final time, we are back. And I get to say it this time. Haha.
You make it sound like we haven't had a chance to yet, and you're the one overseeing this entire operation.
Well, I didn't want to say it out loud, but I do consider myself overlord of this dominion.
And stout. Here's my handle, here's my spout.
Are you just trying to break up the conversation?
Oh, I thought we were recording for that new kids show we were doing. Oh, right, the commentary for the Ninja Spin-Off episode 5.
Yes.
Right, oh, sorry, yeah.
Yes.
With the return of Angus McGruff.
McGruff, yes.
And the debut of the human form of Richard Kuma, voiced by Sean Robertson.
Correct.
Each of the three nations borders
It's not my actual voice again. Audacity, thank you.
Augmented deep voice.
Logically. Now my voices are not augmented, as there is not a Scottish Highlander setting on Audacity.
True.
And we are joined by...
Yep, I'll let you do the introduction.
You want me to do it? Okay, yeah. Dara Moreau, an actual proper voice actress compared to the rest of us. Yes, the wonderful Heidi Tabbing was very kind enough to reprise her voice role as Dine Zeifler and Gun Zeifler's mother, Candle Zeifler.
Yes, we were very grateful to have her on board for this very special 5th anniversary episode, and we encourage you all to go to her YouTube page, Adaru Moreau, which is in the credits, as it spells as it is on YouTube.
You can probably put like
Go
an
ahead.
annotation up on the screen right now.
I would
Look to your top left.
I would accept that, and I possibly may, but like I said, it's in the opening credits to this episode.
Yes.
If you, under voice actors.
We should probably give a thanks to Graham as well.
Of course, yeah, we can't forget
this
that.
entire sequence is illustrated.
It's animated! What?
This entire section is illustrated by the drawing talents of Graham Clark. After Patrick departed, we of course didn't have as close contact with him, so we weren't able to rely on him as much for drawings. So I had Graham come in with his sketchbook and illustrate some scenes for me, which I then scanned onto the computer.
I must say, I really like this opening. Like, it's very different to everything else so far.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And it's probably never something you could ever see very often at all. But that just, that's like the point of it. It's the final episode, it's the 5th anniversary.
We're trying to push the boat out, if you'll pardon the expression.
Gosh,
sorry.
and we have to admit that there was no way we could get this cast together, given that...
Never mind the politics.
Well,
Let's just appreciate
it would not have been out of the ordinary to us if I had still been in the UK to play the parts of Kuma, because I did the voice of him in his bear form. I'm sure we could have had Sean playing the voice of Kuma's human form, I suppose, at that time. I myself do actually play McGruff and Egap, that's Dine's father on the far right there. But the real problem is getting Adair Moreau to come to the UK and play Candle, so that would never have happened, probably.
No.
You also need to clone yourself, given some of these very good shots of the four of them.
Yes.
Oh well,
Although
that's a minor issue.
we have mastered split screen by now. Just occasionally we get it completely wrong.
That kind of adds the fact that you get the shots of the four of them as well. In kind of similar layouts to the way the four main characters of the Ninja spin-off have lined up on occasion as well.
This is true. And there is a reason for that, which falls into context with how the finale of the episode plays out. Now, when I had Graham do the drawings for this, I had him take his cues from a number of different sources. First of all, for Egap, Egap and McGruff, I had him draw chiefly from their appearance in a special episode during the run of the Ninjas, and the same goes for the image of Candle Zeifler, which appeared in the ending credits of the Ninjas series. Kuma's costume was a little more required a little more refinement. You might notice, not saying anything there's anything in it, but you might notice that Kuma's costume is not dissimilar to the costume of the mysterious traveller who appeared in a previous episode at some point. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I think that's that just seems like a coincidence to me. I don't know why
Yeah.
you bother bringing it up, to be honest.
It doesn't seem like there's anything in it, really.
No,
I mean, the costume itself is so generic that anyone could have worn a costume like that
it's
before.
just travelling clothes, really.
Yeah. You're right there, Michael.
Oh yes, I hope I haven't covered anything up. Sorry.
Ah, that's fine. We weren't talking about anything important anyway.
Oh, okay, cool. Anyway, I think it's worth noting in this particular scene that it's good that we actually find out why the legendary sensei are the legendary sensei.
Yeah, because they've only been referred to by name up until this point. No actual like lore stories of them.
Exactly. It's only said that they are the three legendary sensei, with the Grand Master of the sensei being a secret of the group. Dine's mother, Candle. No one actually knows why they are, because they're only briefly mentioned in Series 2. So, anyway, yes. But although McGruff, I believe McGruff is the one to have the most screen time. Is that correct? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He and Kuma are the only ones still alive in the continuity of the first two series, and as many of you will know, McGruff has passed away.
Kuma is now the only surviving member of the Sensei. Could that mean something for the future? I'm positive that it doesn't. But
The racing water of vitality.
the point here comes where we discover for the first time what each of their chakra is fueled by,
Yes.
and what their great gift in the nations was.
Yeah.
Hence why they're the legendary sensei.
Yes. I mean, there would be other myths and deeds that built on that, but this is the one that pertains most to our story today.
Oh, yes. It's a great way to start off an episode as well, with a little bit of a history lesson, especially seeing as the end of the last episode.
With an exposition dump.
To open for drifting souls and allow them to
Well,
pass
it's a
on
direct follow-on from the last episode,
their
because
gift to
Dust
the people
ended
of that island.
episode 4 by saying it begins, or began with the legendary
That makes
sensei.
no sense.
It
Even if
starts
the myth
same
is
way.
true.
Yeah.
How would Gunn know about it?
Now I'm going to take a rare
Easy.
opportunity to
Gun
blow a
and
horn
guy
that is my
are
own here,
sons
because
of Egap and
that
Candle Cypher.
that design for the life seal was all me.
Yeah.
I thought of it, I put it together, and I had Graham edit it in Photoshop so that to remove the background from it, so that it would just be the lines to be superimposed. The design itself, nothing particularly special. It was very simple to come up with, but what I loved was my idea to have moving parts to it, separate moving parts to it, making it almost like a clock face.
Yeah.
It works really well, the way it kind of animates the one part of the backstory.
Yes.
The actual formation of a tetraform is the only animated part of it with our drawings.
I think the inspiration for it partly comes from the Orichalco seal in Yu-Gi-Oh! And partly from an anime that Alex had me watch shortly before I came up with the idea, called Shakugan no Shana. There's quite a lot of revolving symbology in that one, particularly in the opening sequence. Anyway, here we have the first appearance of the Grand Island, our most ambitious location that we ever used in the filming of this or anything else, to be honest.
Now, upriver in the Firth of Forth here, Sean is working very hard with a bucket to keep the tide high over the crossway. That way, it looks like the pathway to the island is not there. Now, at this point, where Drew does this hand seal, Stephen is signaling to Sean to stop putting the extra water in and actually start pulling it out as fast as he can.
So real
Which
time
is
as
now-
well.
Sean's actually just sticking a vacuum in the water at this point.
Yeah.
It does kind of look a little bit like that now you say it.
No, in truth, no. Sean is not a superhuman.
Yeah, in truth,
water
the
machine.
crossing to Cramond Island, which is where this whole episode, the majority of it anyway, was filmed. The crossing is made up of a causeway which, as anyone who knows what a causeway is only uncovered by the tide at certain times of the day, which meant that on both the days that we tried to film this, we had to time ourselves with precision to make sure that we could get everything done and back off the island before being trapped there.
Cramond Island's rather infamous for people getting stuck on there, having misread the tides and not understood about the causeway.
Exactly.
Or have just seen, a pathway to an island, just said, oh, let's go for a walk, only to discover that upon their return to the causeway, it's no longer there and covered by water.
For the next 8 hours or so.
Yes.
For those of you who ever intend to visit the UK, Scotland, Edinburgh in particular, or live there and don't know this, be very careful when crossing to Cramond Island.
Are you with me?
But it was sort of the right balance of iconic looking, sort of a touristy location, but not run by anyone, which unfortunately means large parts of it are falling into disrepair and even vandalized. But it did mean that we got some fantastic shots of the ocean, or the river as it is. It's just a really big river.
But it is part of the ocean.
It's essentially at this point almost the ocean anyway.
It's an inlet. You might as well call it the ocean.
Given that it's a river that leads into the North Sea, I don't think that we can really quite call it part of the ocean.
Yes.
You've all made your point. The speech is over.
Yeah, geographic terms doesn't matter.
Let's go.
What I meant.
It's big water, pretty much.
And here we have...
The opening
One of the
sequence.
most freaking awesome things to come out of this series. I love this opening so much. Actually, I just love this whole episode.
It came together fantastically, and moreover, I was working for the entire run-up to this episode under the assumption that the music for this would be done using the crappy quality version of the music that I'd managed to acquire by download. Mere days before I was editing this in proper, I discovered a good quality, clean version of it. There's how to spell a Derumaro for those of you who don't know.
And how to spell Sean Robertson.
And how to spell Sean Robertson, yes. But yeah, fortune upon fortune, a lovely, slick, clean version of the opening, with even a little bit more of the instrumental parts of it emphasised slightly. If you haven't heard the version I was working on before, which most of you will have to take my word for it.
It's worth noting as well that the credits right now are the full credits for this episode.
Yes.
Start rather than at the end.
Because I intended to follow on in the tradition of the Ninja series, where each series ends with a full cast list of the main characters of the series. And I wanted to focus it mainly around that and the thanks to be given at the end. I wanted to give the full credits for this episode in particular at the start. And it's 5 years! Yay!
I know. Gosh, wow.
Well, it's a bit longer than that now.
Okay.
Well, yes.
Yes, we're getting into 5.5 years now.
I mean,
This is still technically the 5th anniversary year, though. This is the year of everything. And we have had
Yes.
one or two other projects done during this year. Some of them done by me, some of them done by Peter and Sean, which had been done, which you can check out on either my page or Peter's page to celebrate this 5th anniversary. I think we've pulled out the biggest number of different series.
Yeah, well, you in particular, it has to be
Me
said.
in particular this year, yeah.
I mean, you're redoing the entire, going about redoing the entire first season again.
We're going to do that. That's not.
That's still
that
very
is
much
not
a
official.
conceptual thing.
That is, I have to say, don't take that to heart. I mean, do look forward to that, everyone, if that's going to happen. I really hope it can, because it would not be a tremendously difficult undertaking, given how short the first season was, and how most of the episodes require very limited actors to show up. In fact, largely, there's a lot of them I can just do on my own.
How
but I
dare
wouldn't like
you?
to-
Our actors are in no way limited.
Sorry, that's not what I meant.
I know.
No,
Now,
anyway,
um,
that all
must
relies
draw attention
on...
while it's on screen to the bottle
course,
around
yes.
Jaiku's neck, and to the fact that the reference made to the bottle here, other than the explanation about what it does for those, the name that you just heard there, shamanic exude, though it would sail straight over the heads of anyone who hasn't seen it written down, is an anagram of Deus Ex Machina.
Yes.
It's one of those beautiful things that was like just an idea, a thought that might possibly, if we can be able to rearrange it to have something that, and perfectly shamanic exude just suits the time and the
It
nature
did.
of the...
Unfortunately, there was no cause for us to show it written down at any point, so the only way you could figure out that algorithm is if you were able to
Anagram.
Anagram, Peter.
Sorry, yes.
Not an algorithm.
An algorithm for an anagram. No, the only way you could suss that is if you'd somehow managed to guess exactly how we spelt exude, which we might have misspelt it, you don't know.
I'm thinking about it now and I'm looking at it, so I'll stop thinking.
Anyway, sorry, just to
And
quickly
shamanic.
finish off that point that was going nowhere. yes, we would love to remake season 1. It's just a matter of availability of cast members, because everyone does have a life.
Yes.
Except me.
I wouldn't exactly say that as much, but yeah. It's understandable.
But yes, I really hope we can do it, and it would be because season 1 is really the only one that stands out as something that I personally think needs to be remade. Season 2 I'm not going to touch again.
This current scene here that we're on is
Anyway,
about to come to the end of the material shot on the first day of filming on the island, and this day comes into the very reason why Andrew Caesar was not able to be a full-fledged part of the finale as much as we would have liked him to be anyway. This day was the last day that Andrew Caesar was going to be available before he took a trip down to Newcastle to start training for a new job.
About 8 hours.
And on the day that we arrived to film this segment of filming, we discovered that the island was already somewhat occupied, particularly around the area that we were planning to film the major scenes of this episode.
Exactly the area we were planning on filming the major scenes of this episode.
We arrived to discover a number of campers on the island telling us that in about an hour after we were then arriving, there was about to begin a punk rock festival on the island, and that we'd literally beaten the people coming over to set up by about a quarter of an hour. Indeed, as we walked off to the side to discuss the situation, we were passed by a number of people carrying some things which would be very obviously music and gig related. Others not so much. There was a guy carrying fire eater sticks. Who walked past us.
Amazingly, since then as well, having told this story to a few people who weren't involved in filming, they looked at me with a look of incredulity, as if like, you don't know about punk rock on the island. And I'm just thinking, I've lived in Edinburgh for 23 years almost now, and what on earth is going? What?
But it must have been a massive undertaking too, because there's no power on the island, so they must have brought goodness knows how many generators over with them.
Hamsters and wheels.
Yes. So we had about an hour to film before the whole thing was going to start up, and our audio was going to become seriously difficult to record. So we did the best we could. We recorded that last scene of them discovering the ruined village. We had already previously filmed this scene here with Alzac and Dusk, which was filmed on a forest, not on the island but elsewhere. And we had no opportunity to film the scenes that come after this. So I was the victim once again of unfortunate circumstance, but really lucky happenstance filming. Because when we filmed this scene here, at the end of it, Andrew wanted to add a little bit of it to the end of his own accord. He wanted to add a little bit at the end where Dusk would ask Alzac, "Do you trust me?" And at the end of it, when Alzac replied that he did trust him, he would say that Alzac was an idiot. And when we filmed that, he happened to just for no apparent reason just walk out of shot to the side, and that shot has now become the point where he departs.
Yes.
I later, when we were unable to film more material with Andrew, I went back and reshot some new lines to insert in between certain things that he said towards the end of the scene.
Just as Alzac on his own, yeah.
Yes. And that was our scene. And the next time when we picked up with our filming on the island to finish off the episode's content taking place in that location, we had no Andrew, and we just had to link into it as best we could. But
you had all the footage there to be able to do so, thanks to just some.
Exactly.
Let's just call it some happenstance.
Yes.
We have the best, we have the goodest bad luck, or the baddest good
Goodest
luck.
bad luck.
We also have the bestest good, real nice grammar.
I'm very good at superlatives, I'll let you know.
Aye, we do.
Do
you have any
I was
idea
very happy with how this scene here not only gives Dusk a bit of a farewell moment, even though he's only really just joined them, it also gives Alzek that kind of full circle completeness as he finally understands how things went down back in the day.
Exactly. Yes, I had
Double
to be
completeness of
contented
two
that this scene fulfilled Dusk's expository purpose within the story, and that through the use of a technique which we fortunately had him demonstrate in that scene, we were able to make him a part of the finale in his own way.
And yet it all seems just to meld together so seamlessly.
Not,
despite all
I mean,
this.
it's not seamless. It's not. You know, you can see the cracks there, but it works out much better than we could
painted
ever.
over those cracks as best we
Exactly.
You're not giving yourself enough credit. I don't think there's many cracks there at all. I think it's just been.
If you say so,
spectacular
all I'm
best
saying
series.
is that for the circumstances we were dropped in, we did a remarkable job of covering up the problems that we'd had.
At least wait for us on the mainland.
No, the biggest crack there is. Here's the "Do you trust me" moment.
Yes, of course I do.
And there he goes. And that's him.
He just sort of
and that
walks
was
up
at the
to
time that was just him leaving the shot, but that what has become him leaving the island.
It's a brilliant line.
And now you can probably tell for one reason or another that this sequence was filmed on our second day at the island.
Why?
Any clues? Anything that's different about any of the cast members?
No,
Well, not that wasn't already explained on screen.
Yeah, we saw
I
the
mean,
scene
as
when
long as
the
you
old
don't draw
costume-
attention to it again. Oh.
Nothing. It's fine.
Yeah, Steve had a much shorter haircut, clearly, when we came to film the second day, so I was like, well...
I just want to say there when Steve's like, this might be a trap. He's readying his sword. Who's he gonna fight?
It's just going to stab Alzak in frustration.
This could be a trap. I might have to kill you, Alzak.
Yeah, so he'd had a haircut by this point, in his own
put my
words,
sword away for now.
to look more like Robert Downey Jr. And he, well, we saw that we had that to work with, and I was like, well, why don't we just, in the first shot before we show him in full again, have him raise a kunai to his head as if to cut his hair, for no apparent reason.
We could have just got a wig.
Oh, and we did.
We've already worked out Steve's hair seems to go really, be very convincing with wigs.
Do you know?
Yes.
Do you know? It's coming back to me now. That was the reason we got the wig in the first place. By the time it came to film that sequence in episode 4 where Sean takes the place of Steve, that was just lucky. Steve wasn't available for that day of filming, and we had the wig by that point
Because you got it for this.
because I got it because I wanted to have a backup. We never ended up using it for this, but
For Steve, we never put it on Steve, but
exactly, Steve is the one person who's never worn that wig, even though it was intended to cover up his lack of hair.
Oh well, I think it's kind of nice to see him cut his hair short because it shows that
It gives
it's
it a bit of
coming
a
to the end.
different. Yeah, it gives it a bit of a different image to it.
Also,
He's
there's something
getting
serious.
ready as
Yeah,
well.
getting ready is what exactly what it
Because
is.
he knows it's going to get in his way.
Now, every scene, every shot that you saw leading into this scene and this scene itself, all filmed in broad daylight.
The magic of cinema.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I just realized, Peter/Alzak.
What?
About the hair cutting.
Yes.
Do you remember back in season 1 where Alzek says that someone has to have their hair ritualistically cut for this ceremony to take place?
Yes.
You could have
Do you think
said that
Leon
it
just
could be
got the
anyone.
wrong idea?
And Steve-
just someone involved has to have short hair.
Gosh, he said, "Why's that?" Well, it's just how it works. Oh, okay, I'll do it. I've been meaning to cut my hair anyway.
No, I don't intend on explaining that. You can try it.
Alzek!
But
Alzek, what an unexpected pleasure. Is it my
Giant
turn
fist
again?
attack. Okay, I'll stop because you've told me to.
yes. Now, I wanted to make this green screen confrontation, since it was a little longer than the one in episode 1, make it slightly more visually dynamic, so there's a few changes in camera angle, a few single shots, and I try and make the background fade into memories Alzak
Yes.
has of moments that are relevant to what they're hopefully relevant to what they're talking about.
Yes,
like
I do
when
quite
Gunn
like
references a doomed man, Patrick comes up on screen.
Yes, he does. Yes,
It's also-
per seal.
It's also quite foreboding when you think about it, given what's about to happen in terms of they start fighting in memories and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
The fact that they're definitely present. But I do like the way that it moves around, and especially the zoom in that, well, Gunn
Yeah.
did, I suppose. He was,
Yes.
the shrinking he did, I suppose, is probably a better term for it.
What does the red represent in Alzak's mind again? I remember
Panic.
Heathcliff explained the colours.
Heathcliff never explained the red. He explained that white is calmness, and he leaves it at that. Essentially, when it goes from white to black, as it does in the first episode, that is the tension raising. Red is abject panic.
I always thought it was anger, as in not Alzak's anger,
Anger
or
could be-
Gunn's anger.
Anger could be mixed into it, but it is definitely representative of Alzak's state of
Yeah,
mind.
that does make a bit more sense now you said it, actually, though. You didn't want Heathcliff to go into a big discussion where, like, and if it's green, it means you're feeling a bit unwell, and you probably had some dodgy...
New
teeth
shot!
before.
New shot! I do love, I think, one of my favourite bits in Season 1, which I'm glad you used in one of the memories here, is when when Dine and Leon do that sort of, yeah!
Yeah.
Head
Their
thing.
moment
It
of
was nice to see that
camaraderie.
again.
The one you're just dying to ask. The regal eye.
And here we get to the guts of it. We get to the big plot that Gunn's been planning the whole time, which I thought was really good.
It's very Gunn.
Yes.
Yeah, it
very,
is very
very
Gunn.
Gunn.
Sorry, very Peter Clutton written Gunn. I mean that in the nicest and best way possible. Because Michael Page written Gunn is, I've got power now!
I haven't been making many comments on the music, but I want to give a reference to this because the Kingdom Hearts music, which is what's playing at the moment, fitted wonderfully. Particularly as it had its own built-in moment where the tension starts to raise with that extra little beat that comes in.
Yes. Quickly nodding to this here. I'm speaking, I do move my mouth. I'm now explaining the evil diabolical plan to Alzak. I had no idea what it was because it was to be a surprise for me when I watched the show. So I think I said something along the lines, I'm talking now and I don't understand what I'm saying, but I'm talking anyway because I've been told to.
Yeah, I just said say a word and I zoomed in and you said something.
Oh, okay.
Seems we're not really caring about how many syllables people utter when we're not actually hearing what they're saying.
This is true, especially since I was going to cut away before any actual sound issued. There was Steve putting his headband on to cover up the fact that we'd forgot to put it on him at the start of the
He
scene.
does that a lot, have you noticed that?
He's getting ready.
Yeah.
He's just gotten up.
Yes.
I know.
I don't really know, though.
Not impossible. Just hitherto unachieved.
This part is of course supposed to be Gunn putting forward, verbalizing his part of the conversation, but everything that Alzak thinks and is about to say, Gunn already reads straight away, and so that half of the conversation is completely hidden.
Yes. Very nice little thing to go here because, this is the whole, right, we've done the quest, we're ready to finally finish it, it's our plan, we've been planning this and we're going to succeed. All of a sudden, Gunn's like, oh, actually, I was expecting you guys to do this.
What's happening? We have to stop. Gunn planned this all along.
There you go.
Leon,
Of course, sadly,
please.
Alzak has already told them the previous night. I want you all to forget any trust you had in me.
Yeah.
Oh, Alzak.
Leon has
Whoops.
Steve has his own words on exactly what he thinks of Leon's actions at this
Yes.
point, which we can't
You will
really
see that in
repeat
the
here.
blooper reel.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense because there's no other way you can really orchestrate it such that Alzak would go after Jaiku and Leon wouldn't trust Alzak over Jaiku.
Exactly.
Probably what the crux of it
And
is.
it's a funny little juxtaposition because episode 4 was a large amount of it was built on the distrustful relationship between Leon and Jaiku.
Now
But
they're working together.
now, thanks to
Yeah.
the events of the Dominion fight, coupled with Alzak's need for them not to trust him, he now works alongside him. And I just want to say right here that this sound effect you're hearing right now is me rubbing a glass of water.
I didn't know that. That's
Yep,
great.
it's a wine glass full of water.
Now you say it.
I've dampened my finger and I'm rubbing the edge, the rim of the glass
I mean,
in
now
a
you say
circular
it's so
motion.
obvious, but at the time
Yeah.
it's like... I'm also
Look
probably
at that life seal.
I was also probably way too focused on the disembodied head of Michael floating around and grinning.
See you soon.
Every room in every house needs one of those.
I would love one
Absolutely.
of those and hold my glass when I've not got a table to put it on.
Of course.
Particularly like your life seal. No, I know you've already
Yes.
talked about it quite a bit in the opening, but especially the
The glitching life seal, as it is at the moment.
It's like the glitched out life seal.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like missing numbers infected it. Anyone remember missing number? Just
Yeah,
me.
you'll never complete your Pokedex now.
It's in.
Ah.
That's enough from you.
Now, clear this up for us, Pete. Jaiku is not really a bad guy in this
No.
sense, is he?
Of course not. Jaiku has, to varying degrees, all the way through his appearance in the story so far, been affected by the regal eye which he is wearing, which he has claimed to be able to block because they thought that it was just an amulet to diminish the willpower of the person wearing it. What we're about to discover is that it has a mind of its own, because Gunn implanted a part of himself inside it specifically so that he could exude psychic energy from it.
Yes. This is the part you're now seeing in physical form. Well, not really physical, but yes, in mental form, I guess.
Let the games begin.
Gunn
So the-
repurposing the inside of Jaiku's mind to fit his image. The reason why he could not do that with Alzek's mind is because Alzek was rejecting him, or trying to.
Yes.
Whereas Jaiku, thanks to the psychic treatment he's received from Gunn, has embraced him.
Yes.
And where are we now?
This is Dine Zeifler.
No, it can't be.
I love this little inset. It was just
There he
I was
goes.
not
That's
expecting
it.
at all.
That's him. Okay, that's it. Bye, guys.
This is only part of the entire thing apart from flashbacks.
Yes.
Yes, that is set in the Sun Country where Dine is currently residing. If you want to see the events of that, go ahead and watch the Ninja Side B on my channel, DX Zeifler. I'm sure there are links to it on Peter's videos. And you can see what Dine's been doing in 5 episodes of things. Now, they're much shorter, but I'm guessing they're sort of chronologically together. So, yeah.
Parts of this series could be considered to run parallel to it, sort of, possibly.
But there's no need to watch one of them or the other side by side, so...
Yes. Don't spoil your appetite.
Yes.
But then Jaiku was under my control.
Alex, who we haven't even mentioned yet, provided his own first Jaiku costume for his run as Jaiku. Also provided this, his new gun costume.
It suits. I love it. I think the costume, along with the way he just does the whole 180 personality shift, and
Yeah.
and he's just the sort of guy you'd expect to do the evil maniacal laughter as well, just from the look of him.
I don't think
No
any.
offense, Alex.
I don't think anyone present at this commentary or any of the other cast, were they present, would argue with me when I say that Alex threw himself into that character more than anyone else in this episode.
He, just to clear it, he, right now, he is a much better Gunn than I ever was. I'm just going to say that now. I much prefer this incarnation of Gunn.
And it was so refreshing to have an island like this with no, perhaps a few surrounding people who might wonder what all the screaming was about, but essentially nothing to stop us from being as loud and dramatic as we wanted to be.
Yes.
Probably worth mentioning me at this point.
Yes. What about you, Sean? Oh God, right. No more jokes like that.
Never-ending array of jokes on that.
Yes, while we
This
were
is something I don't know.
when we came back for this second day of filming at on the island, we did encounter someone, not someone who was telling us of the punk rock festival incoming, but somebody who was just on his own camping on the island, who travels from place to place, and whose name is Me, spelt M-H-E-E. He was by far the most interesting and interested person we have ever encountered on one of our many filming days. He was a polite audience. He kept out of the way of the camera and didn't try to talk to us while we were in mid shot. He seemed genuinely intrigued by what we were doing. Not
scared.
not openly disparaging about it, which was nice. And he was a really interesting person to meet. So yeah, if by any chance he's found his way to our YouTube page or has ended up watching this or any other videos, thank you very much for giving us a very enjoyable day apart from all the filming we were doing.
Yes, and I hope your travels. It was great. Like, we've had a few live audiences, but
Yes.
given we're not exactly filming in personal locations a lot of the time.
So he's been the only one who's been really willing to interact.
Yes, most of the others just sort of like, okay, and just walk alongside and ignore us, or
Yeah.
maybe ask like a question then quickly move on. But no, he put on with us for the whole day.
Yeah. One of the strangest one of the weirdest looks we've ever had, and this was during the filming day with Steve, that the same day as the shot that just showed a second ago, was a guy gave us a very odd look as he was passing us, and I thought that was a bit of a cheat because he was dressed in fishing gear, and there is no way of looking more ridiculous than that.
Oh god.
I hope we don't have too many fishing fans enthusiasts.
Sorry, everyone. You know what's very funny? I remember filming an episode of season 1, which was largely just me and a camera and a tripod, as Dine down in these woods that we're actually seeing now, where Alzak and Shark are fighting in this memory battle, which is footage that I've from my second series.
Yes.
I was down in these woods down by the river nearby, and 2 fishermen were on our land fishing. And, you know, we've got no problem with them as long as they don't cause any trouble. But they had the cheek to look at me and say, "What on earth you dressed like that for, you loony?" I said, so I felt like saying something back. I said, "Well, I'm just out filming on my land."
Why are you dressed like that?
On my land. At which point they both said, "Oh, this place yours?" "Yes." "Right. See you later." And they both took off at top speed. Granted, they might have thought I was some kind of mental patient, with the ninja headband on.
That you were warden.
Yeah, and I had my battle pole, my staff. I think I had a kunai in my hand as well.
This is my trespasser's stick.
Guardian of these woods. Of these lands.
Yes.
So they looked a bit intimidated by me, so I said, well... Anyway,
yes,
that was
now
fun.
we've already got most of the way through this sequence using reused footage of Shark Den, but it's it's worth saying that this, among a couple of other short things that are original, were good to ensure that we had an appearance from Patrick in this episode.
Even if it was reused footage and of his old character.
Yes.
Even though I still love Shark as well.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's quite funny. That scene you just saw there of Alza getting zapped by lightning when we had the cast and crew premiere of this scene.
Yes.
I believe it was Steve turned around and said, "Oh, I'm glad you kept in all the old special
Yes.
effects."
And what he didn't realise, because he hadn't seen it in so long, is that Michael gave me the raw footage of this scene, so I re-edited it myself using our new effects. So what he thought
What's
was
very
just
funny about that is that I don't know why I am notorious for, once I'm done with a project, destroying all traces of it except for the final product, and in some cases losing the final product by accident.
Whereas here,
for some
raw
reason,
footage fully available.
Sorry, go. Oh, right. All of that one scene, just that one scene, was still in its complete raw form.
Here's an original piece of footage with a returning character who we were stoked to have back.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I'm just gutted I wasn't here for these film days. You filmed this when I was...
Me too.
Yeah.
One of the few things I wasn't around for.
To be honest, there's not much to tell. The day itself was a very rushed, very haphazard affair. Matt turned up for filming. Matt, as in Matthew Lamb, who's playing Khazadin right here, turned up on the filming day. He'd sorted everything so that we could have the day to create this scene and really give it some time. And then about half an hour after he arrived at my house, he got a call from his boss at work saying that he was supposed to be in that day. He of course wasn't. He'd organised everything very specifically, but now he was, there'd been a miscommunication, and he was being forced to come back in. So he managed to negotiate with them so that he could come in after only half the day. So we were fortunate that we had 2 hours to film the entire thing, and we belted through it.
Yeah, and I think it turned out great.
I'm very satisfied with how it turned out.
You can't trust
But then you got it all done as well, but it's one of those scenes, I suppose, where you just think you really had your foot on the right pedals those days.
It's not a memory, it's an illusion.
Exactly.
We do a fair amount of messing around on film days and such.
It's true.
It's half the fun of it, really.
Now I like this bit here where Peter has gone back to the grounds near where I stay, which is where that Alzek versus Shark fight took place originally, and refilmed extra footage to clip into it.
Yes.
And what I love about this is it's essentially Peter standing in my field talking to himself.
I didn't have the audience of any particular fisherman though, so
Yeah.
I was spared that. And now here we go on Alzek on his grand tour of previous locations.
Yeah.
And Michael, you care to start rapping at the mention of the word grand tour?
Oh, hold on. Step into the Grand Tour. Grand Tour! Grand Tour! Step into the Grand Tour. Ninja Ball GT! Oh! And I'll stop there.
I'm the most confused with my face right now, and I'm assuming somebody...
Yes, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who don't know about Dragon Ball GT, where are you? What have you been doing? Even that series, people know it.
Well
Okay.
done for living your life.
Dragon Ball GT has a number of, at least 3 different English openings, one of which is this incessantly strange rap that spews exposition out,
Which Michael
left,
just
right, and
ably
center.
recreated for you. Anyway, we should get back onto stuff that isn't owned by other people.
Yeah, great GT Grand Tour. Anyway, that's how we got onto that topic. Anyway.
This is a bit more of Alex actually talking as Gunn rather than
Alex camping it up a bit and really giving it all.
It was nice of him he went back and watched season 1, or at least Gunn scenes that we had still intact. And he took his performance from there, and I'm really glad that he decided to do that, because I would have been just as happy if he'd gone ahead and fully done his own thing, because I am not a big fan of the character of Gunn. When I first heard out, which is funny because I am him, when I first heard that Peter was going to have his final villain of his series and the focus be Gunn, I laughed and I said, but he's awful! He existed because I didn't have anyone else to play another character.
Exactly.
Anyway,
and yet,
you did a fantastic job with it.
And yet Alex brings him to life like this.
Yeah. I do love that effect.
That was great fun, being smacked across the head by it.
Sure.
And I think I just love the composition of the way the sound effects turned out for that bit.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be a moment later on in the fight where he does that again, but for some reason we didn't film the complete sequence. I don't realise exactly what went wrong with it, but
sometimes that happens. Sometimes you might accidentally hit the record button and not hit the record button at the right time or something.
Oh, I've done that many times.
Something like that.
You'd think it'd be such a simple thing after all this time shooting several hours worth of complete footage, let alone raw footage. You wouldn't do that anymore, but nope.
Now you would think that us having such a limited amount of time to film the Khazad-dûm-Leon fight scene would be the reason why there's, well, it has a relatively small runtime in comparison to the Alzek gun stuff. Not the case. We fairly much got through all of it, but in fact relatively unedited, to be honest. Just a couple of bits more rushed than they should have been. The fact is that I'd always envisioned that Leon versus Khazad-dûm would be a fight scene virtually without dialogue.
Of course,
because all the techniques that they're using are ones that have appeared previously, albeit sometimes in previous series. Even the ones that haven't appeared in this series don't require a great deal of explanation. And we've already set up the emotional core of that fight when they meet each other. So there really was nothing else left to do but let them lay into each other.
Yeah. Now, just quickly on your new technique that Alzek's about to employ, which even he doesn't know how it's going to turn out. Really liked this. It was nice to see Alzek using a fire technique. Because we have so few fire techniques in this series.
It's true. Yeah, I just thought, how about trying to apply the mechanics of the Kuseru in reverse for a change.
Lung damage wins the day.
Yeah.
I like that because Alzek takes up a good long hard toke on his pipe.
What else do you do with a pipe?
Yes. And to be honest, that part was supposed to give Alzek one last moment of triumph in his old costume before the transformation, but actually it does a better job of serving to show just how powerful Gunn is, because it has virtually no effect on him besides making his vision a bit fuzzy.
Yes. And quickly before we get into the what I think is the final rush of the Alzek versus Gunn apparition.
Yes.
We do not condone smoking in any way at all. We hate it with a passion.
No. That's why Alzek has always had his pipe simply as an affectation.
Yes. Never puts any tobacco or damaging substance in it. And the moment he no longer has what is a tobacco pipe, which never has anything in it, which he does purely for the dapperness and cool factor, he gets a bubble pipe.
Yeah.
Exactly. And even that point where he appears to smoke the Kuseru, he is actually simply lighting. That is chakra that is burning there, not
Smoking
weed.
chakra is okay, kids.
Yes.
As long as it's your own.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Not a great time, Alzek.
Now,
I know how we can close the
these
seal.
shots of Leon were filmed separately to the fight with Khazad-dûm, but on the same day. We didn't return to. We had to drop off Matt back at his flat in between filming his section and the rest of Leon's segments of this.
Even if we had the power.
So we had to leave the bridge in order to do that. When to pick up this section here, we found a brick wall in the grounds around Lauriston
Really?
Castle. Yep.
I never knew this. This is great.
Me neither.
We couldn't come back to we didn't have time to come back to the same location, so we found a brick wall that looked kind of similar in the grounds of Lauriston Castle, leaned Steve against it, and filmed him against it.
Never noticed it. Would have not noticed if you'd said it.
Exactly.
Oh yes, here we go. We got transformation sequences.
Absolutely.
Which was great fun to shoot.
Yeah.
I didn't shoot Leon's one, but I helped shoot Alzek's one.
Yes, Leon's one again was shot on the same day as the Khazad-dûm battle, which, to be honest, it kind of makes it a blessing that Matt had so little time, because it forced us to get through that fight sequence quickly, and we had plenty of time to do the other related material with Steve.
Yeah.
You might have
thank you,
noticed, if in the odd close-up of the sword, you might notice that the wooden black sword that Leon holds is getting destroyed in that scene.
Yes.
Matt's metal sword is chipping bits off of it like nobody's business.
That sword that Leon has wasn't exactly in the best condition to start with either. It's been through the works.
It had already taken a couple of knocks.
It was fine.
But fortunately, this was the final fight scene of the series, so we just went for it. Unfortunately, it did survive, albeit in quite a rough shape.
Yeah. So I'm glad it's got some use.
So yes, and because we had so much time to film the rest of Leon's material, it means we also had time to film his complete transformation sequence.
Yeah.
Which means that Steve had probably the most costume changes he'd ever had in a single day of filming.
Old Leon, mid Leon, and new Leon.
Exactly. And there was the one of the final appearances of the Sovereign Leaf on screen, even though, like we've said in the episode 2 commentary, it's never mentioned by name now or until the end of the series.
Just real quickly there, I want to point out when Sean said Old Leon, Mid Leon, New Leon, it sounded like a Pokemon evolution.
It sounded like
Old Leon, Mid
like
Leon, New Leon!
Sounded like a new bunch of Eevee transformations. Yeah.
Yes, anyway.
Yes. Now, on the cast screening day for this episode, Alex was the most immediate person to praise this transformation sequence, and while I'll leave it to people to decide how good or bad it is, I'm happy to receive praise for it because it felt like it worked.
Yeah, it's great.
I was happy with the choice of the music. I was happy with the sort of jazz piano segments to the little bit of music, and I was happy with how the transitions between the different bits of costume appearing worked.
I know this is an illusion, but nothing I do to you will hurt the real Pasadena. I prefer his old costume.
Right.
Me too.
I thought the transformation sequence was... I'm never going to badmouth the transformation. I thought it was fantastic as well. I just prefer the old Leon costume. And to be honest, I kind of like the new Leon's costume better as well.
It's to be honest, I prefer it to wear, certainly, because I get to wear a jacket, and the sort of light blue lycra shirt that I'm wearing is quite a bit more comfortable than 2 layers of jumper.
I think that the new Leon costume, his night costume as it is, would be much better if he didn't have his jeans still on. Now his jeans work really well with the old Leon costume. They just do.
If, like
But
Alex,
with
he
this
could have provided a brand new awesome pair of trousers to go with it, then perhaps.
Yeah. Anyway, enough said. It still does the job, and I really, while it does look a bit out of place on Leon, I think that's almost okay because it's his night costume.
Yes, Leon is supposed to look like he's, like he fits in raggedy clothes.
Yeah.
And then like a uniform is a lot less suited for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, a point to make about the characters here is that the recostuming comes. My theory about the recostuming comes under the same theory as the Matrix, when they talk about when you enter the Matrix, you enter a residual self-image, and your clothes reflect your image of yourself. The fact that Leon's costume, Leon's image of himself essentially is now him as a knight, means that he has accepted where his home is after all this is over.
Yes.
And
Alzek's
Alzek's costume, though it may not be immediately obvious, Alzek's new costume is the same costume that was worn by Guardian, the apparition that appeared to him in the winter episode at the ruins of Dedo Koro. The one that turned out to be wearing his glasses, and this is symbolic, essentially, of the fact that that Alzek has accepted that his handicap is a part of who he is.
Yes.
His future is Guardian, not ambition. Even though we found out that was actually what it was.
Correct. Now that he's discovered that ambition is not declared as part of his future, he realizes that he can choose it for himself.
I like the little cut we had there to Leon Kazdan fighting. Just because of all the exposition going on here and insulting Gunn's actual name and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then just suddenly we cut back to this a couple of seconds of those two fighting, and it's just like
Showing that yes, it's definitely
they're
still going on.
It's still going on. And it's still awesome.
And the sparks are still flying.
Oh yes.
And we can quickly mention before we transition to the final phase of this battle that we do finally delve into a bit of the psychology of Gunn and his motives.
Yes, that was
which
the
obviously
scene
you will
that
all
we've-
know when you watch the series. You can in proper, or if you've watched it already, we hope. And now we get to see Gunn for what he really is.
Indeed.
Which helps that Alex is able to deliver lines like that just so expertly.
Yeah.
We no longer have any qualms about killing this man.
Well, this is no good.
Mind what you say about my house.
I think it's great that Alzek has occasionally some of those lines. The same way he was talking about how, why do all famous people hate their children? Just, to remind them, even though it's serious, he's still a little bit wisecracky.
How are we supposed to know whose memory this is?
Now, what's very ironic about this is that they're supposed to be seeing a visual representation of either something from Alzek's mind or something from Gunn's mind, or maybe from both of them. The funny thing is, neither of them could have possibly remembered the Ninja School building in this sense, because it's been repainted since we filmed.
Now, I here have to voice my protest once again. I know that obviously it's your parents' home. You can see the subtle changes in it. When I arrived at your parents' house that day to film this segment, I could not tell the least bit of difference.
Fair enough. If you looked at them two pictures side to side, you would definitely notice it, though.
Perhaps.
Granted, you don't live there, though, so that's fine. Anyway, I want to say now, because it's happening, this exchange here, particularly Iron Forge Jutsu, really got my excitement going when I was watching this episode.
And I think it's also worth mentioning that the music that's playing here is the instrumental version of the opening theme tune.
Yes.
Yep.
And
it just fits so well.
Right now. And not before you mentioned it, but still right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Alzek in this scene has truly gone beyond the limit, as I like to say in my comment that I made before. And he's standing up with his own talents, not with raw power, but with his ingenuity and strategic thinking that is his forte, and is using it to fight against big leagues like Gunn.
I just want to say also before this sequence in music ends that this is an unofficial instrumental version of the theme tune, as far as I'm aware at any rate, and that I borrowed it from a user on YouTube. If they ever happen to watch this, I would love to give them full credit, and love to have their names so that I can link people to them.
Yes.
This part of the exchange is probably my favourite.
Oh yeah.
It's like he's
Everyone
giving them a
shouting,
chance.
"Don't do it! Don't do it!" But
I planned on it. And this is a technique that we have not seen since the very first episode.
Exactly. A callback right to episode 1.
Because
Well, it
here
just-
you think,
Yeah.
I didn't. Thank you anyway. Dead weight
Yes.
jutsu.
At the time, it
And
just
this-
seemed like such a silly technique.
Yeah.
Like, when will that ever be useful? That's what I thought at the time. And then there's this, and it's just like, well, I corrected everyone.
yeah, it was really something to see that happen. Because I
Again,
think just about everyone who's watched this with me, they said, "Oh come on, don't stop because he says so." But because that is something that the old Alzek probably would have done.
Yes. To be honest, the execution of it, that's, for people to, how good that is, people can decide on that for themselves when they watch it. But what I had in mind for most of the series, and particularly in the making of this episode, was I wanted this to be a series where you are rewarded for having paid attention from the beginning.
Yeah.
You think anyone will?
That is where it
I'm
maybe
joking.
falls down, but
For those of you that do, thank you, and you are rewarded thusly.
yes.
Oh, some of our most devout fans actually get shout out in the credits afterwards.
Yes, and we'll make sure and point that out just in case they haven't noticed themselves.
Even if you free your mind and reawaken, your problems are only just beginning. The wind does not tire.
Yes. This is one of a very rare speaking moment for Khazad-dûm in this scene.
The wind bows before
He's belting out a line, which thank God he managed to keep a straight face for it.
It doesn't make sense either. I'm the lunar
Quiet,
wolf,
you.
The wind belongs to me.
Oh, because the moon
Pick up
controls the
your
wind.
bellows again.
Yeah.
The moon doesn't control me. The moon controls the tides.
Yeah, but it also
Silence!
controls
Go
the
back
wind.
to being your bellow man.
Yes, thank you.
Blow the leaves away.
There
That's
may
what
be
character I played in,
there may be other
footage.
there may be other contributing factors, but and I'm going to look like a right dunce
No,
if
I
this
think I'm
turns
the
out
one
to
that's
be
looking
wrong.
like a dunce because I'm
but-
pretty sure I'm wrong about this.
But
I'm the lunar
like I say, I'm sure it's not
wolf.
the only
wind
contributing factor.
bows before me.
I'm pretty sure the moon is responsible for the wind on Earth in some sense.
It probably is. I never studied that sort of stuff.
Hold on, I'm Wikipediaing it right now, guys. You guys
Good
keep
stuff.
going.
We'll have the answer for you guys before the end of the episode. Did that line make any sense?
Oh, it doesn't matter because we've got this awesome bit right now.
holding anything.
You guys keep going. I'm gonna figure this out.
Here's a question I've always wondered. Are you actually holding something there?
Insignificant little
Okay, so
No.
technically Gunn was right when he said you're not holding anything.
That is, well, I could have held a hair, but that is a callback to episode 10 of the Ninja, where Alzek was talking about a tiny invisible chakra homing device,
Yes, I
just
remember
like
that.
this one. He holds up his hand, and it's just his two fingers about an inch apart, holding nothing. So that's a sort of roundabout reference to it,
must
and
admit,
also an excuse to be late.
In the kind of inverted colours here, Alex's gun looks terrifying in the inverted colours.
And I look just weird. Andrew's back.
Yes. As light dusk.
Yes. The plot hole that I was talking about from before, the part that doesn't quite add up, is the fact that Alzek can suddenly use that particular technique.
Okay, I've got your answer, everyone.
Okay?
The moon does not directly affect the wind. However, because of its major tidal effects because of the moon's gravity and the addition of the sun's gravity, it can cause an indirect effect on Earth's weather patterns, which can have in itself an indirect effect on the wind. So it does have an indirect effect on wind, but not directly.
So we were probably both right.
So I think we can agree. We are now shaking hands on this for those who can't see us.
Good,
everyone. We can agree.
Just as Jaiku and Gunn are shaking hands there.
That's really shaking hands. It's like an arm wrestle in the middle of the air.
I remember doing that. Look at that stretched out left arm of mine. Oh, you're not going to win, Jaiku.
Here we go.
If you're doing something like that, will you not just reach the other hand around and slap it?
Possibly. It's a mental depiction, though.
Exactly.
This bit is spectacular, though.
Yes.
Here's a bit of borrowed footage from Kamen Rider Forze.
Yes, which, by the way, I'm doing a series about.
We'll
the
maybe use the
footage.
credits as a possibility to plug other stuff, but...
Yes. Oh, right, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry, we'll come back to that.
Okay, we'll be right back, everyone.
And here was our chance to bring Patrick in for the final sequence.
Quickly
That
showing
was
a frame.
partly out of want and partly out of necessity, because when Andrew left to go to Newcastle, he unfortunately did not have access to a microphone to record the audio lines.
I think it was better that we had Patrick to do so as well, because we had Drew's picture, but we still had
Yeah,
Seal was there in spirit.
We had them both departing early, and I'd like to think that the Miraclone of Dusk partly represents them both.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Because it's part of Seal's costume as well,
Yes.
which is even awesome. I still can't help but giggle at the silent moon line.
Well,
And here,
it sounds
this
like
eclipse
Steve...
picture here, this eclipse picture right here, is made from stock footage from a website called Shutterstock.com for anyone who's interested.
Yes. And that quick shot there of Gunn, my face, being dragged away into the life seal, was actually filmed, I think, mere weeks before the screening of episode 5.
It's one of the last things to be added, I'm guessing.
I think it was
Yeah.
one of the last... was it the last thing filmed, Peter?
No more, I said.
I think it...
One more person.
Now, I probably filmed some little fill-in shots myself on other stuff, but I think that was the last... That was if you like, that was the last line to be filmed. Was a mighty scream.
Yes, that was filmed with a green screen here in the US, where I am currently residing, to fill in there, because we realized that we didn't have sort of a gun going, no!
I wanted to make
defeated.
sure that the last face of Gun we saw was the original face of Gun.
Yes.
And that though he had transplanted into Jaiku's body, that he was still himself underneath, and that it was him that was being defeated, not Jaiku.
And he's totally gone, he's never coming back again.
Oh, absolutely, and I mean that this time.
Yeah, so do I. I'm sorry, but the two people who would have any control over Gunn's return, that's us, by the way, me and Peter, have both decided he is gone and never coming back.
This feels like
But their brother, the third Cyphler brother, Bun, will make a
gone.
and his bakery products of doom.
I
that is not
rather
true.
like
Don't take
the
that
footage that I got of the waves crashing against the causeway there to fill in the time while we showed the island's bridge being covered up again. And it fills in the time a little bit until we finally get to a shot that we got of all four of us together. You'll notice that Andrew has returned for some footage that was filmed
You totally saw him
previously.
waiting at the other side of the causeway.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you saw
Those
his
were his
legs.
legs, right?
Those are
Yeah.
clearly Andrew's legs.
Yeah, well, they weren't Sean's. No.
Not at all.
No.
They were jeans, yeah. Just like
And
he's wearing
here,
there.
at the end of this scene, you'll see another little serendipitous piece of footage that was, believe it or not, at the time, an outtake, which I'll explain when it turns up. But for now, guys, talk away, and I'll interrupt you when it becomes relevant.
Oh, okay.
That
Well,
arm
I
bit
quite-
there didn't feel like it was intended. It's like Alan.
That was not intended.
Alex!
I was not intended.
I like the
but-
little pat on the arm when he puts it back up.
Yeah.
There you go. Stay there, Mr. Arm.
It actually works though. It's like a slight bit of respect, but not enough because obviously he doesn't actually know him at
Yeah,
all.
it does work. Now, I was here on the day of this. This is filmed well in advance of the final episode, or the bulk of the final episode stuff being filmed.
Yeah.
And I remember,
No, well, this was the night before we filmed the first, or attempted to film the first island filming day.
oh, okay. I was here.
Yes.
I remember that. And this was my first time seeing Alex's gun costume, if you will. And I said, "You look like Captain Hook or the McEwen's Logger Man." And he
And
did this great.
we decided while filming this bit, because it would be too difficult to carry Alex with the leather jacket as well, to remove it and then have him lose it when we picked up his body on the island.
On the island, yeah.
Now, what's about to happen here is as I said, what was at the time an outtake, where as we do the shot walking down the hill, which we're about to see, Andrew Susser, for no reason at all, branches off and walks off to the right in a separate direction from Alzek and Leon. That shot is just about to come into that just now. Final shot of Jaiku, and there he goes. And that became Dusk's departure, because we never got the chance to film a proper departure scene, a proper goodbye. For those who, again, it was forced into a corner by it, but for those who are interested in what would have happened, is they would have reached a fork in the road. Leon and Dusk would probably have exchanged cursory goodbyes, and then Alzek would go to shake Dusk's hand. Dusk would resist, because the last time he offered him a handshake, he punched him in the face. And instead they would settle for a wave and depart entirely without dialogue.
It still works, because that was still a departure without dialogue, and Dusk is not the sort of person who likes to talk to people, so...
Exactly. I mean, you can imagine for yourselves whether or not you think that Leon and Alzek, didn't notice Dusk branching off and only became aware of it a minute or two afterwards. But I don't think it was a surprise to them that he departed so quickly and wordlessly.
Yeah, and we got this epilogue bit as well. I always keep forgetting about this.
Yes.
I just think that
every bit of footage with Yasmin in it here was filmed during the filming of episode 2.
Yes.
And believe it or not, at the time we filmed it, Seal was supposed to be in this final scene, because this was before Patrick had to depart back to Hong Kong. So just a couple of shots, like the shot where you see Leon walking towards Hime, where they finally approach one another just a few seconds ago. Patrick was also walking towards Yasmin at that point, and I just had to cut it before he appeared in front of Alzek.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have any footage of Joe Buckley as the King's reaction to the news of Seal's death either.
Yes.
But as you'll see in a moment, it doesn't actually matter, because even just
it was for what Peter had to work with. I think he did a fantastic job, and I know he voiced his opinions.
Again, we had no dialogue of the King reacting to the news of Seal's death. So I used mute silence and a slightly blank, resigned expression, and faded into a memory of his, using this footage, which was believe it or not, was footage filmed right at the very start of the Ninja spin-off. This was maybe our third or fourth filming day, where we were essentially testing out Patrick's costume, and I wanted to have a short sequence where he and Shark Den Den appeared by split screen in the same scene together. So it's a unique piece of scenery for the series to see both his characters appear at once and have that be his final signing off moment.
Your Majesty, if you need my
Now, what we're talking about here, obviously will go nowhere.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, this is just a way to get Alzek out of the picture at the end.
Exactly. We just want this to be Leon and Hime's happy ending, and nothing else is going to happen beyond this. No.
No, it's all over. The story of the ninjas is over, and they just need to get Alzek out of the room, so the King made up a fake mission for him to take.
We've not already filmed little parts of this.
Of what thing? Why would we be filming anything else right now for the ninjas? It's over, right?
Yeah, this is the 5th anniversary episode and the final episode, of course.
Yeah, there's no more to go after this. Sorry, everyone.
Why would you try and stretch it out after we've ended on such a high?
I mean, look at that. Wonderful ending.
Okay,
I love this ending.
I think once again
fantastic ending.
I think we may have overkilled it now. No, the Ninja spin-off is not the final episode. We are ourselves planning on filming a single feature length, and by feature length that basically entitles us to make it as long as we want, feature length episode / movie type thing, which will be one self-contained story leading off from the events that have been described here, and will close out the entirety of the Ninja series story.
Yes,
All 4
that
seasons
will
of
be
this.
it.
All 4 previous seasons of it will come to a head in this one event.
Yes, and I will let you all know, I'll give you a hint, there'll be a special returning guest.
Yes.
I'm not going to say who
Dino
it is.
Fist!
Yes, Dino Fist will return. That's not a joke. Dino Fist will return.
Yes.
But there's another guy coming back too, but we won't say any more than that.
Yes, Graham as Gauntlet.
There will be plenty of
Oh,
actually
if
be
you
plenty
guys
of
can't
time.
figure, if you guys are listening and are trying to figure this out, if you can't work it out by now, you're terrible. Just go away, go watch our series again. I just want to take this opportunity to
remember
say that yes, this will be the end of the ninjas. We've talked about it a lot. It's time to move on after this final bit comes along.
Yes.
But I will make an attempt when I return to the UK, which could be very soon, to try and remake season 1 with no changes to the plot at all. Just tidy it up, try and get it a bit more sensible, and do that. I understand we may not be able to get everyone back who was involved, and we may have to use old footage, but that will be definitely the last thing. There will be nothing more after that. So,
Yes.
for those of you who have been watching, thank you very much for all of the ninja stuff, all of our ninja viewers.
Yes.
But we will be doing other things from now on. So please don't go away. Even after the ninjas is over, we'll keep working.
Now, wish to draw attention to our thanks to everyone who's being specifically named here, and anyone who we may have happened to forget. We are scatterbrained people, so if we have forgotten anyone, thank you to you too.
Yes.
Needless to say,
Coming up in just a second, here are the usernames of our 3 most dedicated fans on YouTube, and we would like to thank them. There is the name of the guy who was our, as I said, our most enthusiastic audience. There's the name of the guy without whom we would not be doing this. There's the name with the name of the guy without whom he would not have been
Yes,
doing that.
I was inspired
And
by
there's
your
the name of the
thing
guy
on-
without whom none of us would have been doing any of this.
Yes.
Oh, and there's Sean Robertson.
And there's the guy who inspired Masashi Kishimoto.
I take great credit in admitting that
Of
that's
course.
true.
Yes. Not something you'd like to talk about usually, but
What's this? I thought we were done.
here is the epilogue. Here is what we plan to be the specific jumping off point. The end of this scene should, in theory, kick off the very start of the next episode, the very final story.
Sorry,
the
just
ninjas.
real quickly. I didn't notice that bird before, but it seems to fly where Alzek's
Yes.
going. Perfectly. Sorry. Okay, please continue.
And here, the final occurrence of our meme throughout the series.
Well, one of them.
Well, yes, our closing meme. We are coming to the close of this episode, but we hope to see you back when we finally get our gear together for the last ninjas.
Thanks for watching.
And like I just said, thanks for watching, and thank you for listening to us rambling on.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Thank
Take
you
care,
very
everyone.
much. Take care, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Dun, dun, dun.